Secondary break. Graham Bunn, former D1 point guard, got my brother-in-law, but brother from another, Mr. Zach Talitsky, UNC alum, all-around good guy, and my sounding board for all things Carolina Tar Heels. Our boys are rolling, 10 in a row. UNC takes on Florida State on the road, advances to 17-3, 9-0 in the conference. It's been like, what, 10 years since we've been 9-0 in the conference?
I think since 91 or something like that. Something crazy. I'm not sure any of Roy's teams ever did it. Not positive.
Yeah, amazing. And I couldn't be more proud of the team. We'll recap it a little bit. I don't know if you were able to watch intently. I don't know where you are. I know that you've been traveling. You're making time for us. I greatly appreciate you. This is, and we've been doing this, this will be my favorite show that we do because I think there's a lot to unpack with this game. And I think more so, and we've talked about KenPom and analytics and all of those things. I think the learning experience and what came out of what went down on Saturday with Carolina's basketball team, you just can't even measure the growth and the learning experience with any kind of metric or any kind of analytics. I'm so proud of the team.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the first 10 minutes, and then I was with family, and so I was trying to watch, but not as intently as I normally would. So you'll have to carry me through it today.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, again, look, we advanced to 17-3. We're 9-0 in the conference. I believe we've got 5 road wins. I know we started out with 3. Florida State is 4, and then I'm drawing a blank on Boston College was the 4th one, and then this was the 5th one. So 5 road wins in the ACC to kick it off. I won't get into the Clemson-Duke game. We should have a 3-game lead in the ACC, but conversation for a different time. But it was a great game. And if you didn't happen to see it and you're catching this recap, one, thank you for coming by and supporting us. Just 2 good guys that love Carolina basketball, and I have roped my brother into doing it with me, and I love it. But yesterday was like a good old fist fight. And, you know, I made several notes, and I actually had a text conversation with Jay Williams throughout the day because he was working game day. And, you know, obviously face of college basketball, I would imagine most people wouldn't argue that. And it was just a good old who's going to stay on the porch and who's going to come outside. And I was really proud at the way the guys responded to adversity. There was runs in the game. It was a hostile environment. FSU is a very good team, and I think before it's all said and done, they will be a tournament team. If it started today, I think they're out. I think they've got some work to do, but I think by the time it's all said and done, they're going to be a tournament team, and it was a huge win on the road for us.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the toughness to win a game like this, I mean, to go on the road against a good team, I don't think we played our best. We're playing a team that's probably on the bubble. You know, in the ACC, the way that it's shaking out, you know, they need wins against us or Duke, you know, to get quad ones. And so they know that. And so they're looking at this game like, hey, we can make our season here. We can really help our resume, maybe put ourselves in a position to win the tournament. So this is a, you know, not quite do or die game for them, but it's, you know, they're playing with desperation. And so to be able to go in and show the toughness, you know, be down at halftime, you know, that's a physical, you know, long team. And then to show the poise down the stretch, like you said, you just learn a lot about yourself. You have to be, you know, growing in confidence. You know, it's awesome to see because I hate the myth that we're not a tough basketball program.
Right.
And so games like this, I'm like, who can watch this game and say we're not a tough basketball team?
Yeah.
Because I think we are.
I'm all on board with that. I got a few notes to walk through with you, and then, you know, we'll move forward. But one of the things, you know, I've been harping on it all season. It kind of continues. He shot it well yesterday by all means is Carmack Ryan. There was stints when, you know, you talk about toughness. One of the things I don't think anybody would ever question with Carmack is his toughness. And he hit some big threes, very timely. And one of the things that I made a note was, look, if you're not going to shoot 35 to 38% as a shooter, then you got to make big shots. And he did. And it was unbelievable. And I think the grit and the toughness, it got a little chippy. And I was, you know, one of the things that I love about our team, because it's going to get chippy. The stakes are only getting higher with every game. The later you get in the season, tournament talk starts, in, out, bubble talk starts, you know, people knowing. Now, granted, we're in a position for the first time in a very long time that we're not part of those conversations. We're in. But when you get into these games, other teams are. And like you said, they're fighting for their collective lives for the most part. They're like, man, we want to make the tournament. And so to show the resiliency and toughness and finding ways, I'm sure there's an unbelievable amount of analytics and stats that can go into why we kind of pulled this one out and we found a way to win. But for me, looking at it, it's just, Baycott has 5 points and 4 rebounds, and we still win the game on the road. I just feel like this team finds a way to win, and it doesn't have to necessarily be by game script every time. And that's amazing because down the road, you're going to run into someone who's really good at scouting, takes you out of what you do well, and you're going to have to find a different way to win. And they did that at Florida State. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think I'll have to go back and watch the game and figure out how it is that we won. I mean, Baycott, like you said, had 5 and 4. We allowed 26 points off of turnovers. They shot 45% from 3 and outscored us by 3 from deep. And Withers didn't score and had 2 rebounds.
Yeah.
And I'm
again,
like, how did we win this game?
Right. You look at the stats and you're like, and I think it boils down to toughness and scrappiness. And there are certain possessions. I didn't have the exact time mark, but they were making a run. And I do love the unselfishness about this team. But there was one play where RJ was like, just give me the ball. Like, we need a bucket to stop the bleeding. And there was no passing. He went through a couple ball screens, got the switch that he wanted, got in the lane, gets away with a little bit of a shuffle, puts up the floater, and it goes in. Now, when you're on the road, plays with 15 minutes left affect the way the game is played for the next 10 minutes. Like, he misses, they get a bucket. It's a 4-point swing, and an 8-point lead goes to 12. Anytime it's above 10, it's just a different mindset. And so the selfishness, I guess, or the aggressiveness, and then the unselfishness of the team that's like, okay, RJ wants to get a look in. Like, let's let him cook a little bit. I thought was amazing. And again, just a learning experience. There's going to be times where we need a bucket. And there was a few interesting notes that I made about it. I don't know if you got a chance to see it. There was times where you could see Elliot Cadeau being incredibly aggressive, which is awesome. It seems like he's growing up right before our eyes. He's finding a groove. He's learning, okay, I can really put my stamp on this game here. And he did. But there was also times where Baycott and RJ are off the floor and Elliot is running the show. And I thought that showed a lot of trust in him. He's still a freshman point guard. And having both of your 2 leaders that have unbelievable amounts of success under their belt on the bench in a hostile environment and a must-win game basically for the home team, and Elliot's out there running the show. Now, Carmack Ryan was in the game, but still, I mean, the point guard is a 17-year-old freshman, and it was just a lot of trust. You could see him growing up right in front of your eyes, and I think that's going to bode well for us down the road in case, God forbid, RJ ever gets in foul trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Cadeau, I love talking about Cadeau, and I love his game.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's just so much fun as a fan to watch a freshman, continue to develop on the road, and then in big moments, feel like he has the green light to attack and to be aggressive and make big plays. And they're a good defensive team, and they really struggled to keep him in front and to keep him out of the lane. So I thought he had a tremendous game. You can't overlook the 8 for 9 from free throws. And although the jumper still is a bit of a struggle, I mean, if he could at least get the free throw shooting up, that's a huge bonus. Just given how aggressive he is and his ability to get in the lane, he's going to need to make those drives pay off. Going back to the Kenny Williams interview, he talked about Marcus Page and how he was one of the top 2 or 3 smartest basketball players he's ever been around, and what an addition he's been to the staff. And I think I saw a quote from Cadeau where he was just talking about how great it is to be able to, look at film and talk through things with Marcus Page. Yeah. So I think, we shouldn't overlook the contributions he's making to Cadeau's development. But yeah, I mean, great game from him. And to do it at home as a freshman is one thing. To go into that type of environment and do it, is I think really special.
Yeah, I was telling down the road too. There was a kind of a must-score possession for us. The game was still the game was still in question, and the ball was in Elliot's hands, which is fine, but RJ was on the floor. And in my mind, I was going crazy. If we're going to nitpick some of the things that we hope changes, is like, you don't have to be the Wizard of Westwood to know, all right, RJ's our best player. Let's get him a look in the must score situation. And if he doesn't have the look, at least go through him. But just the confidence of Elliot Cadeau moving forward game by game, I just feel like you can see the growth in real time. And it's really impressive. I don't think that growth's slowing down anytime soon. I think the sky's the limit for a player like that. And I'm just praying we get multiple years of it. Because like you said, he's incredibly fun to watch. And RJ is the man. If he's not heavily into the National Player of the Year, definitely ACC Player of the Year, but National Player of the Year conversation, I don't know what the criteria is, because he just remains steadfast in hostile environments, finds different ways to score on every level, even though he's an undersized guard. And it is just incredibly impressive for someone who played college basketball and understands how challenging it was and how difficult it was to score the basketball on certain, in certain levels and certain looks. Incredible.
Yeah, I think we talked, back when we started doing this, that, one of the risks with RJ was, as a smaller guard, once we get into conference, we have bigger, more athletic wings to sort of throw at him. How would he react? And would he slow down? And they, and Florida State's as big and athletic and long as anybody in the conference, I think.
Tallest team in the nation by average player. Tallest team in the nation.
And they made it hard on him. I mean, it probably was not his best game. Yeah. But still, he was able to answer that. I'm sure they threw a bunch of different defenders at him, to keep those guys fresh. Had a game plan. Leonard Hamilton's been around a long time. Very good defensive coach. Despite all that, you look up at his line, and then his ability to get where he wants to be on the floor at critical moments and make big shots. I'm sure, that was the, number 1, 2, and 3 on their game plan, and he still found a way. So yeah, I mean, you can't say enough about the player he's become and how he's leading this team, and the poise that we play with down the stretch and the confidence. You got to give everybody credit, but I think a lot of that comes from their trust and belief in RJ.
Yeah, just the standard that he's setting for the season, just to go through it. Anybody that watched it would agree with you. Like, and I guess he's coming off 36 at home, which is probably his best performance. But the standard that RJ Davis is setting is that, you watch the game, you're like, oh, well, we survived, or we got to win, and RJ didn't have his typical normal great game. And then you go back and look at the line, he's 9 of 18. He's shot 50% from the floor for 24 points on the road in a hostile environment against the longest and tallest defenders he's going to see, because they're the tallest team in the nation. It's just like, it's unbelievable what the guy's doing at his size. And you mentioned it with Elliot, and Kenny Williams called it. I actually commented on the quote. I saw it was posted somewhere. I commented to Kenny Williams, hey, man, you called it. I believe that Marcus Page also is having a wonderful impact on RJ Davis's development as well. Super cool. And I think he moved up the scoring list. I'll have to pull up.
I think he went to 17 or 18, something like that. I think I saw your post.
Yeah, really, really cool. Yeah, he's at 18, basically 1,700 points. And George Lynch, I mean, some of the names in front of him that he is going to catch: George Lynch, Michael Jordan, and Joel Berry II. That's impressive. That's really cool. And then I think I saw somewhere where Armando Bacot's the first player in Carolina history to have 1,000 defensive rebounds. Like, it's just, we're very blessed to have this team, and it's so much fun watching them. So much fun.
And we shouldn't take wins like this for granted. Especially what's happening around the country. I went back and look, there were, I think, 13 losses by ranked teams this week. So Kansas lost, Kentucky lost, Arizona lost, Oklahoma lost twice, Auburn lost twice, Memphis lost, Baylor lost, Illinois lost, Colorado State lost, and Dayton lost. All ranked teams. Most of those are, on the road against unranked teams.
Yeah.
And so, to reel off 10 in a row, like you said, to be 5-0 on the road in conference, is it's just no matter what happens sort of from here on out, that's a great run and an incredible accomplishment with the carnage that happens every week around the country.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about Tuesday's game, and we'll move forward and put that to bed again. UNC advances 17-3, 9-0 in the conference, five road wins. Next game, we win 75-68. I think we've held all of our opponents. Don't quote me on this. The road opponents under 70 points, which I think is a big benchmark. 70 is a big benchmark number. But we go to Georgia Tech, and I believe that's Tuesday night. Yep. And then we have Duke, which, Kenny talked about it. I've actually spoken to Jay Williams. I'm trying to get Jay Williams on to talk to me about it. If he has time, he did say his schedule's pretty hectic with him being a former Duke player and doing game day. College game day is going to be there. I'm worried about the Georgia Tech game because they are very capable of winning against anybody, especially when it seems like it could be a trap game where there's so much hoopla. Carolina is riding high. Duke's still an incredible program, but they're not winning games decidedly that they have in the past. And so there's an excitement around, maybe we get a sweep. Well, who knows? And I don't want to speak for the team, but we got to take care of business first before we start honing in on game day. I've already seen posts about game day. We've put up a post about game day. It is rivalry week, but we got to handle business first. And it's a road game.
I think Kenny talked about that too. He talked about Duke week and the fact that they start running promotions and you see people on campus getting amped up for the Duke game. And he's like, you typically have another game that week that you still have to pay attention to. And so yeah, you're absolutely right. A road game is always dangerous, not to mention it's Duke week. This is almost the definition of a trap game. Well, you learn something after every game, so it will be interesting to see if this team can stay focused on the job at hand, or if this is one where we can trip up.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech, as it stands right now, is 2-7 in the league, and it has a losing record overall, 9-11, and that scares me more than if they were 500, because the mindset is we should roll these guys. We'll go in, handle our business, get back, and start preparing for Duke. When in essence, like you got to play the game. You got to make sure you show up. You can't take anybody for granted because as soon as you let your guard down, someone's going to land one good shot and that changes everything. So
they've already beaten Duke.
Of a trap.
Yeah, they've already beaten Duke at home. They played them close in Cameron. So, we're kidding ourselves if we think we're just going to, waltz in there and it's going to be easy.
Yeah. And they beat. I watched the entire game. I believe it was double overtime. It could have been just a single overtime game, but they won at Clemson. So they've beaten Duke and Clemson, and I think both of those teams have the potential, well, especially Duke, but I still firmly believe in Clemson's ability to get into the dance and win a game or two. Like, I think Clemson's a very, very good basketball program. I don't know what the disconnect is, and I don't study them. I don't watch them intently like I watch Carolina. But Georgia Tech beat Duke and Clemson. So I don't know, and they went to Duke and they only lost by 5. They're a very capable team. So, they beat Duke at home by 4. They lose at Duke by 5. They beat Clemson at Clemson by 3. We got to handle our business. We can't overlook them. And then we'll handle Duke starting Wednesday morning.
Yeah. Before we leave the Florida State game, I did want to mention Ingram too. A monster on the boards again, 17 more. Not to mention that huge block in whatever it was in the last minute or last 2 minutes, where Cadeau. I thought Cadeau did a great job making him sort of take a tough one and sort of bought time for Ingram to come from the weak side.
Yeah.
But, maybe more than anything, I just love the positive energy that he plays with. He always has a smile on his face. He's always going over to the bench and getting people revved up. You see the pictures from the locker room, after the game, he's celebrating, and, that body language. And I think just the amount of positive energy he brings to this team. I mean, it has to be rubbing off on people.
Yeah. Another thing, you mentioned it before. I can't remember what game it was, but It's really cool, and it has been like this in the past. And this is the first time in a lot of years, though, that when the game gets tight down the stretch or we get down 5 to 10, in recent memory, I've worried, man, this is going to get out of hand. It's going to be 25 and 30 and the game's over. When it's 5 to 10 for us in this team right now, and I firmly believe in Hubert Davis, when there's a timeout, he was getting after everybody. There was an inbounds play where we got a 5-second call. Then there was another inbounds play where we had to call timeout to get it in. And he started getting in everybody's you-know-what. But, like, there was a calmness for me as a fan, but it seemed like there was a calmness about the team. Like, okay, let's get into the locker room at halftime. Let's talk about what we're doing wrong. We'll make the adjustments, and let's come out and get this win and get back to Chapel Hill. And I just haven't seen that from the team, or I haven't felt that from the team. That could just totally be me. But when I'm watching the game, I wasn't nervous. I was like, okay, we're going to get some good looks, and you're not going to make every shot, and maybe you'll lose the game. But I didn't feel like we were going to cost ourselves. We were going to make sure that we put ourselves in a position to be successful. And if it didn't work out, it wasn't because we did something dumb or we didn't get a good look or we weren't prepared. It was just that nobody's perfect and things happen. And it's a really cool feeling to have because you enjoy the game more. Like, I just love watching the team play, and I get it. No one's going to be perfect and no one's going to win every game. But when you watch it and you believe that you have a legitimate shot to win every game that you play, it's way more fun as a fan.
Yeah, last year it just seemed like all year they played with this monkey on their back, the expectations and the idea that they were supposed to be so great. And then when it was a struggle or they had any sort of adversity, it was like, why is this hard? You know, we were supposed to be number one in the country. Like, this is supposed to be easy. And there's this like tension that just seemed to hang over the team all year. And then this year it's a totally different animal. So much more confidence. And then, like you said, when things aren't going their way, it doesn't feel like they're pointing fingers or it's creating stress or it snowballs and they're not playing like tight. I feel like so many times last year is like they were playing not to lose.
Yeah.
And then this year it's just, execution down the stretch, the poise down the stretch, still playing with joy, even with some things like kind of go against them. It's just a totally different mindset. And you're right, as a fan watching the games, you can feel it, you can see it. And again, it's just so much more enjoyable. I guess we have to, again, give Hubert credit, to go in at halftime. And I don't know if they made adjustments or they just got refocused, but to go in at halftime with 12 turnovers, 19 points off turnovers, they were 7 of 12 for 3, and then turned both of those things, at both the turnovers and the 3-point defense around, in the second half. And then of course got the outcome that we did.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to give the credit, right, not to Hubert to go in and make those types of adjustments. And that's also great to see as a fan, right? You have confidence, even if you're down at halftime, that they're going to get it straightened out.
Yeah. On the road. Well, I saw a quote, and, again, I'm not in the locker room, so I can't verify the validity of it, but I did see a quote where all the players were chiming in, and not in like an accusatory way. I think it was RJ Davis said, yeah, we got in the locker room and everybody started, hey, this is something that we can do better here. And this will cut down the turnovers here. And these sets are going to be working for us. Like, I think they had a small round table in the locker room and I've been a part of some of those conversations, and it's really healthy when it doesn't have to come from the coach. And then I'm sure Hubert came in and they walked through their things. And like you said, they righted the ship. But for it to come out publicly that the players started the conversations of things that they need to do just shows you the level of leadership I think exists within the team. And that really bodes well for big games down the stretch when you need leadership. And I've been on both sides of that coin. I've been a freshman, sophomore on a team that, had top 25 votes and playing at West Virginia and really needing the win for the resume because the mid-major conferences don't always get 2 bids, and saying, hey, we got to correct this. Because, like, when you play at a mid-major, my first 2 years I played at Bowling Green, your schedule means a lot more than most of the Power Fives to begin with, because you need those down the stretch if you don't win your conference tournament and, you don't win the conference regular season, which we won the conference regular season and still didn't make the tournament. So, and we won a preseason tournament in Maui and, all these things. but you need those big wins. And so to get into the locker room, you know, I'm looking at a guy named Anthony Stacy, who was the all-time, I think he's still the all-time leading scorer at Bowling Green. And him to talk before the coaches talk, and Keith McLeod talk before the coaches talk, it was really cool. And then my time at Appalachian State, you know, becoming a team captain and an all-conference player, being able to go in and look guys in the eyes and say, hey, we got to tighten it up here. Like, you know, we're all human. I got to do better in this regard, but you know, the last 3 feet on the post entry, that's you. You can't let the guy come over your back and take it. You know, just little things that seem to exist in the Carolina locker room right now that, like, it as a former player and also a diehard Tar Heel fan, seem incredibly exciting. Like, it's so cool. So cheers to the Heels.
Cheers to the Heels.
All right. Schedule wise, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Tuesday, are you gonna be able to watch the game live? Do you think we'll be able to recap it after the game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Go Heels, baby.
Go Heels.